Let me give some examples to illustrate the sense in which Rawls does not include moral entitlement in his system. Under Rawls' system, it might turn out that LeBron James can get quite wealthy, much wealthier than someone who works equally hard and has less talent. Now, suppose someone comes along and says, you know what, that's not right. LeBron James does not deserve to have any more money than the person who worked equally hard with less talent. So what would Rawls say? Well, he wouldn't say, you're right or you're wrong about moral entitlement. Right? He wouldn't say, no, LeBron James deserves more money because he has more talent, and that's why we do things this way. Right? He'd say, and he wouldn't say the opposite. He wouldn't say, yes, you're right, they deserve to have the same amount of money. What he would say is, let's put that question aside. Right? Why do we let LeBron James get more money than the person with equal talent, right, who works as hard? Right? Well, it's because there are certain advantages to allowing people with greater talent to earn more than people with less talent who work as hard. Why? Because the person with greater talent, right, might be able to produce as much, right, as the other person by working less hard. Now, in basketball, it doesn't matter, right? That's entertainment, it's not quite so important. But in some form of industry, right, that might be very important. So there might be someone who says, you know what? I could produce just as much, right, and contribute just as much by working half as hard as this other person. And if I work as hard as this other person, I'm not going to get anything extra. So why should I give up a bunch of leisure time, right, to produce more? Right? Well, that could be harmful to society if everyone has that perspective. Think of our example with the orthodontist, right, and the receptionist. Right? Now, suppose we change the example a little bit. Right? Suppose we've got someone who would have to work as hard as the orthodontist to be a good receptionist. Right? But of course, let's assume that the orthodontist could do the receptionist job without working very hard. Right? Well, the worry is that a lot of people who would make very good orthodontists won't put in the hard work. Right? If working as hard as other people earns them the same amount of money, they're going to work less. So that's the idea. Notice, right? He's talking about things in terms of the difference principle. Right? And the difference principle says we arrange inequalities in a way that most raises the level of the least well off. Right? So even if the orthodontist, right, and LeBron James don't deserve to have more than the people who had less talent. That is, even if they're not morally entitled to have more, right? That doesn't matter. Letting them have more, right, is going to raise up the level of least well off, right? And that's how we're going to make our decision. We're going to make our decision about our policies based on the three principles, not based on any judgments about moral entitlement.